Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from SimpleProgrammer.com. So I got this question from Juan, basically asking if he was too young, if employers are going to take him seriously. And I thought this would be kind of an interesting question to address because I've talked about being too old before, but I don't think I've talked about the challenges with being too young, and there definitely are some of those. So Juan mentions that he completed the Udacity Nano Degree program in 8 days, but he wonders, are people going to care? So Juan, let me give you some advice here. So as being someone who's 20, one thing that an employer knows is that you don't have 20 years of development experience, right? And that you don't have even 10 or probably 5 years of professional development experience. In fact, they know that for sure, almost for sure, right? Unless you're working at 15 as a professional developer, which some people do. So, but for the most part, they're going to make those assumptions. And based on those assumptions, and also what they were doing at 20, they're going to make some kind of stereotypes about you, some judgments about you. So you got to be prepared for those things, right? And so there's a real interesting thing, right? I mean, I was 20 once. In fact, I was 19, getting paid $75 an hour as a senior C++ developer. So I was in that kind of situation, which is to say two things. One, I understand how it is. There definitely is some prejudice there. And two, it's possible, right? Obviously, I did this, and there are 19, 20-year-olds that get hired into senior level positions and do well. The key, though, to doing this is really not being arrogant, but being confident. So I think the biggest mistake I see from a lot of young developers that know a lot, that are really, really smart, that are advanced beyond their years, that maybe know as much or more than some senior developers, is that a lot of times they're arrogant. They really want to show off. They're trying to prove themselves, right? And so you want to avoid that trap. You don't want to be that kind of guy that is like always trying to prove other people wrong and showing how smart you are. I always talk about this book, but especially when you're that age, you want to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Why? Because what you're going to find is you're in a delicate situation where if you can, you're one, going to be doubted, and two, you're going to be threatening to, the 45-year-old dude on your team that has been developing for a long time, and you're coming in with all this newfangled knowledge and technology and making him look bad. He's going to be threatened by you potentially, right? So you're going to deal with a whole host of challenges. It's definitely difficult to be young, depending on the environment. Now, some environments that you will thrive in would probably be startup scene, right? Go to San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and there's a lot of young people there. Even a big corporation where they're hiring people out of college, Microsoft, Google. There's probably a lot of young talent there also that are going to get more respect as well. But so you might not have control over that, but just to let you know. So what I would say is, yes, you're going to have problems, but expect them, be ready to face them, and be ready to address them, right? You got to do, one of the key things to do in life is to be able to put yourself in other people's shoes, right? To see things from their viewpoint. So what I would invite you or advise you to do is basically to go ahead and think about how people are going to perceive you and how you're coming across, right? Think about the different people. Every time you interact with someone, especially going for a job interview, or, think about what they're going to perceive, right? Not what reality is, but what their perception is and what their background and what they might be thinking. And you want to combat those objections that they're going to have, right? This is like what a good salesperson does, is they figure out what people are going to object to, and they address those concerns before they even have to mention them. So that's what you kind of want to do, right? You want to figure out, what are people thinking? How are they going to judge you? What kind of prejudice are they going to have? How can you address those and prove those wrong, right, in a good way? And you want to avoid arrogance. You don't want to be too meek either, right? You don't want to come off as, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, and very walking on eggshells, very afraid. So you want to project confidence, which comes from having the actual know-how and ability. You got to have humility and confidence at the same time. It's kind of a difficult combo, but it basically comes down to this. The best attitude I would suggest that you have is one where you know what you're capable of, and you're confident in it. When you speak with a tone of authority, but you're willing to be proven wrong. I always talk about this idea of having strong opinions but loosely held, and what that basically means is like, look, when I'm telling you how it is, like this is what I try to do in these videos, right? Is I tell you how it is. I tell you what I think, but I could be wrong, right? Anything that I'm telling you could be wrong, and I am totally willing to admit that. But until that's proven, until I have a good reason to think it's wrong, I'm going to tell you it like it's true because I believe it's true, and that's a way to come across. It's not a very preachy. It's not a very I'm better than people. It's a very, look, I'm going to be sincere. I am sincere, but I'm also fallible. I'm human. And I think if you can come across like that, that's going to help you a lot. So, I wish you well, and just realize that you're going to face these problems. This is the reality of the world. And as you get more experience, as you get older, you're going to have less of these problems until you get older, really older, and then you have these problems again. But there's always, no matter what background you have, no matter what ethnicity, or if you're male or female, right? There's going to be different challenges, different obstacles that you're going to overcome, and different organizations are going to have different prejudices. This is just a reality of the world. And so your best thing to do is not to necessarily rail at and fight against these things, even though, hey, injustice happens, and we should try and we should not be perpetrators, and we should stand up for right causes. But at the same time, we got to live in reality, and we should try to adapt to reality. So you can use people's perceptions to help you. Right? You can't expect to change people's perceptions for that. They're not going to do these things. So anyway, a little bit long-winded, but essentially that's my advice for you, and I wish you well. So if you like this channel, definitely subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.